with your second salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil. Your third salawat is in the honor of the reappearance of the Imam of our time, Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hassan al-Muntadhar, with your loudest voices. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil. The time comes again where people around the globe gathering together to commemorate the Battle of Karbala. And people from all walks of life gathering majalis of all sizes, small and large, in streets, just to commemorate what happened in that day. And in fact, nowadays we can see people from different religions, different school of thoughts are remembering this event. Now, probably we can say that this event might be the most tragic event that happened in the history of the humankind. Now, considering that this battle occurred long time ago, about 1,380 years ago, more or less, questions arising now and then, some questions like why we are commemorating events that occurred long time ago. What is the purpose of gathering together to recite something that we know what happened? What is the significance of spending time and money and leaving our work, leaving our homes, to sit in a place where there is someone reciting or repeating what is happening in the past? And these are all the questions we hear all the time, most of them probably from people outside the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. But unfortunately, in the few years ago, these questions are arising from even people who belong to the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So, in the first speech tonight, we are going to basically highlight some key answers for such questions, which basically simple answers, but yet beneficial to just repeat them again, to memorize them again. So we have an answer if someone asks us why you are gathering here tonight and for the next 10 nights. Well, part of the answer, if you want to understand the size of an event that happened in the past, you need to consider the people involved in it, okay? Because the importance of an event is directly related to the importance of the people that involved in that event, okay? To make it clear for you to understand this concept, we need to go back a little bit to the time of the day of Ashura to basically understand what happened on that day by considering the status of the people involved in that battle. On that day, we can see two sides, okay? We can see two sides of that day. We have one side represented by Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his family, his companions, and his followers. On the other side, we have the army that was following the rules of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Now, we can understand the status of these two sides not by expressing my opinion, but basically by referring to the narrations that we have from our Prophet. Our Prophet gave us some narrations to give us an indication about the status of these two sides. On the side of Imam Hussein, one of the narrations of our Prophet, he says, Al-Hasan wal-Hussein, Sayyida Shababi Ahl al-Jannah. Now imagine the one who enters paradise is a pure person, is a person that has been cleansed from every sin, okay? So he deserved to be in paradise. Now imagine the status of the master of those people entering paradise. What's going to be? And that is basically Imam Hussein. So we can definitely say Imam Hussein's side represented the true Islam side on that day. On the other side, we have the army that was following the rules of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. So who is Yazid ibn Muawiyah? So basically, again, we're going to refer to one of the narrations of the Prophet explaining the status of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. One day, Abu Sufyan, who was the grandfather of Yazid, was riding a camel, and the camel was guided by Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, and Yazid was walking behind the camel. So all three were traveling at the same time. The Prophet ﷺ, when he saw that scene, he basically mentioned this narration that is very famous, not just in our books only, but the books of all the school of Islams. Okay? The narration says, when the Prophet saw that scene, he said, translating it to you, he said, may Allah curse the rider, the guide, and the walker. In meaning, may Allah curse Abu Sufyan and Muawiyah and Yazid. That narration in itself more than enough to give us an indication about the status of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. So again, when we refer back to those two sides of that battle, we can understand it's the true Islam against, if we can recall it, the twisted Islam. And one of the reasons why we are basically need to commemorate this battle is because the team of the twisted Islam on that day tried to demolish and basically erase any mention of the true Islam represented by Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So when we gather tonight, or every single time of the same time of each year, when we commemorate this event, we are basically putting our voices with the voice of the true Islam. Because remember, we didn't live in that time. So how we can show our support to the true Islam side? Well, one way to show this support is by gathering to remember that day. That's one reason why we commemorate this battle every single year, and every becoming better and bigger. That's one reason. Another reason is basically comes from understanding the reasons behind this battle. So the question is basically why Imam Hussein rose on that day, why he didn't pay bay'ah to Yazid, why he just didn't say to Yazid, okay, I'm going to follow you and let's finish this topic. Okay, so what the whole point of that? Basically, when we commemorate this event, we are basically commemorating the virtues Imam Hussein was standing for. What he was standing for? He was standing for freedom. He was standing for freedom of speech, freedom of beliefs. He would stand for against corruption. He stood for every pure virtues that you can think of under the sky. Again, when we commemorate these events, we are basically commemorating these virtues so we can follow them to make sure that they are like lessons in our daily life. Also, another reason why we gathering here basically is to learn from these things. We are learning from the personalities involved in that battle. When, inshallah, when the night come, we're going to learn about who was with Imam Hussein, his companions, his family, okay, even his children. When we commemorate these personalities, we are basically benefiting from their stories, benefiting from what virtues they hold, so we can hold them ourselves, so we can basically enlighten our lives. Also, one last thing, and I'm going to basically finish on time, inshallah. These majalis, these gatherings, you can consider them to be educational institutions. Because what is said in these majalis? What is said is Quran, ziyarah. What is said is basically what happened. Some lessons we can benefit. All these are basically lessons we can take in our life. Okay? So everyone can benefit from these majalis from one way or another. Even people who are serving in the majalis are benefiting. Because you know, serving in majalis of Imam Hussein is something that everyone should look for. Because you can't imagine the massive rewards one can get from serving in majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. It's more than enough to understand that Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, Imam of our time, all of them are looking to every majlis that mentions or remember or commemorate the Battle of Karbala, especially the Battle of Karbala. Okay, so imagine if that is the only reward, is more than enough. Imagine those infallible persons are looking at you at the moment. Imagine what you can get out of this. Now, inshallah, in this night, we're going to commemorate all of these lessons, and we're going to try something new this year that we want you guys to basically take some responsibilities. This year, from tomorrow, inshallah, I want every one of you to come to Majlis, either with a notepad or something to write on. So every night, I want you to write something about what was the topic of the speech, whether it's my speech or Sheikh Mahdi's speech, okay? Just want you to jot down what was the topic of that night. One, just to make sure that you were listening. And second, that at the end of the 13 nights or so, I want you to transfer this into a project. I want you to produce a project of your choice, whether you want to make a PowerPoint, a poster, a brochure, a story, what else? Drawing book, whatever. I want you to transfer these topics into a project that is going to be, inshallah, represented here in one of the celebrations we are going to hold, inshallah. Probably I'm thinking of the martyrdom of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. So from tomorrow, inshallah, I want everyone to bring a notepad or something to write on, to write what was the topic of that night. Just briefly, you don't need to write stories. Just briefly, what was the topic, what was it all about, and then at the end of this majalis, I want you to transfer that into a project, and then later I will tell you what is the next step. Of course, this is open to boys and girls, if girls are listening to me as well, and I'm intending this project to be for people 12 years of age. But again, I can't stop anyone from participating. If you are older than 12, you are more than welcome to participate as well. So again, at the end of the majalis in the 13 nights, I want you to produce a project of the topics talked about in these nights, and inshallah I will tell you what is the next step. Okay? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward us in this night and reward everyone who's commemorating this event, this tragic event, and inshallah we will all be rewarded with the cover of our sins in the honor of Salat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad wa ajil farjam.